Hi, if you've been following our vlogs, you will have noticed that I use this little Hytric pot quite a lot, this little electric pot. And a few of our subscribers have said, could you please do a review of it, Ellie, because we're quite interested in it. So that's what I'm doing this afternoon. Hopefully I'll answer all your questions in the vlog, but if not, please comment at the end and I'll aim to answer any questions you might have. So I'm going to do a demonstration of this wonderful little pot. Arguably the most frugal thing we use in Merlin for cooking. You'll see on the pot you've got 0, 1 and 2. 0 is off, 1 is 300 watts and 2 is 600 watts. But we will tell you exactly what the wattage is if you're thinking of using this in your camper van or caravan or even in the house. So what we're going to do today, we're going to make a pasta dish and I'm going to show you just how easy it is. So I'm going to turn the Hytric on to its low setting, which is, as I say, around 300 watts, and I'm putting some olive oil into the pan. So it should be warming up. There is an orange light. It's probably too hard for you to see it in this light, but there's a little orange light there that tells me it's actually on. What's brilliant about this is that it keeps cool. Even when inside the pan, I can feel it getting warm. Even when that's getting warm, it has stay cool sides, which obviously keeps it quite safe. So while this oil's heating up nicely, I'm going to put in some onions and fry them. I should point out at this point, always use plastic or bamboo or wooden implements on it. It has a non-stick coating, which if you use metal on it, it will scratch. I'm going to turn the onions up a little bit. The pan can be used for frying, it can be used for heating soups through, boiling vegetables. It's very, very versatile. Essentially, it does replace a frying pan and a saucepan. You can probably hear the sizzling going on as these onions start to cook. And hopefully you can see how quickly that's starting to happen. Now that it's up to temperature, I'm going to turn the pot down back to its lower setting. We don't want it going, we don't want the onions to burn. We just want them to brown gently. Unboxed, this pot weighs in at 1.39 kilos, which is quite low weight, and as you can see it's fairly small, so will fit easily into a camper van or a small cupboard at home if you're using it in your house. Great if you're on electric hookup too, because it's less likely to trip the electricity. When you bear in mind that an average kettle uses 1500 watts to boil water, and this can boil water in about 5 minutes at 600 watts, it's quite a good comparison. I know you need to take into account temperature of water before you start, but like for like, that's quite a good thing. Right, those onions are cooking nicely, so I'm now going to add some chopped up mushrooms. And you will notice that I'm still cooking it on the lower setting of the two, and it's frying quite nicely. I did check on Amazon's website before we did this vlog, and the item is retailing at £42.99. This is the 1.5 litre size, which Graham and I find makes a meal that's big enough for both of us. Obviously, if you have a big appetite, you may find it's just enough for one person, but we always find it's enough for both of us. And they do a bigger version, which obviously would use more electricity, but this one is perfect for Merlin. So the mushrooms are frying nicely at the lower setting. So now I'm going to add some peppers. And what we want now is for this to fry nicely, to get browned, and to release all the caramel juices of the onions. So we'll catch you in a little while. This has been cooking for about 10 minutes and everything's all nice and well cooked, and a lot of the steam has evaporated. So what we're going to do now is add the pasta. Now you may be used to cooking your pasta in lots of boiling water, and that's the way I always used to do it as well. But obviously that can leave you with a lot of water to get rid of. If you're in a camper, that can be quite difficult. And also you're wasting energy. So what we're doing this time is I'm actually putting the pasta in with the vegetables, and I'm going to add some water. But I'm not going to add loads. I'm just adding enough so that the pasta can start to absorb it. And the secret here, I think, is to just keep checking on it. And if the pasta needs more water, you add a little drop more, a bit at a time. I'm also going to put in some tomatoes and the pasta sauce. So as you can see, this really is one pot cooking. In goes the sauce. You do need to keep an eye on it though, because obviously the pan could dry out if you don't, because the pasta will start to absorb the water. If you used fresh pasta at this point, it would be a lot quicker because it only just needs heating through, but this pasta is the sort that needs cooking for about 11 minutes. So the choice is yours. Give it a good stir. It's still cooking on the sort of 300 watt setting. Doesn't really need to be any hotter than that for this dish. Just give it a good stir to make sure that all the liquids are getting in between the pasta so it can begin to absorb it. And what I plan to do now is just to check on it every 2 to 3 minutes to see if I need to add more water. Our pasta's been cooking for a wee while. As you can see, the sauce is nice and thick and the pasta is cooked. So what I'm going to do to make this truly a one pot meal, I'm going to put some cheese on the top and just let it cook for another minute or two. This is obviously my cheese, my VO Life. Oh, if this was for Graham, he would be sticking his cheddar in there, wouldn't you? He can put that on as well if he wants to. I'm just going to pop the lid back on so that it can melt nicely. So this has taken about 20 minutes from start to finish. If you, as I said before, if you use fresh pasta, the process would be a lot quicker because you wouldn't keep needing to add little drops of water to check on and to keep checking on the pasta because it just heats through. So if you want to save more electricity, you could use fresh pasta or quick cook pasta. As you can see from this recipe, we've used the Hytric both as a frying pan to fry all the vegetables and as a saucepan in which to cook the pasta. I think we're ready to dish up. So turn it off. Let it finish its bubbling. Even now, after being on both heat settings for about 20-25 minutes, it's still only warm to the touch.
Oh yeah. Not even as hot as a hot water bottle, is it?
No, which makes it quite a safe thing to use, doesn't it? It doesn't waste much
And just
energy.
to be clear, it is a 13 amp plug on it. We obviously plug it into the mains electric if we're on an electric hookup, or my inverter socket if we're wild camping.
Yeah. And it copes very well, doesn't it? Because the maximum is 600 or thereabouts. The inverter doesn't struggle. We have found with other appliances, if they peak, sometimes like the induction hob, if it peaks too high, or you forget to switch it down, it can trip it. Whereas this never has, because it doesn't peak that high. Right, there we go. That's looking good. Still bubbling away. Worth noting, isn't it? Because you could, in fact, switch it off a bit earlier and still use the heat to carry on cooking. Hey, that sounds like a film. Carry on cooking.
Oh, matron.
So I'm just going to put some on here so you can see. So there's the pasta all cooked. And the lovely melted cheese.
Lovely.
Looks nice. And all in one pot too. Smells nice.
Now I've got a few questions for you being someone who doesn't cook, I've got some questions.
Expert at eating, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm an expert at eating. So let's get you in camera.
Oh, just going to sprinkle a few chives on there. If I've got any out here, I probably haven't. Don't know if you can actually see that in the thing, but
right, questions. So, what is the good points about this cooker then?
Top of my list has to be how little electricity it uses. In this day and age when energy is so expensive, plus when we're out in the camper we don't have electric hookup very often, it's something that we can use all the time for cooking, and it only literally heats what it needs. The element's hidden inside, it doesn't waste heat heating the outside of the pot. It's very frugal.
Okay. Now there must be some things you're not very happy with on it. What are the bad points, just to give a balance to it?
Well, there's a couple of things that are slightly tricky. One is obviously cleaning the pot. You can't put it into water, you can't immerse it because it's electric. So you have to wipe it out with kitchen towel and a little bit of water. So it could be a little bit messy to do that. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I feel it would be useful if you had another setting between off and 1. Sometimes with the 300 watt setting, what happens is that it bubbles too much. You could almost do with a slightly lower simmer setting so that it doesn't bubble quite as much. So what I find myself doing to overcome that problem is I actually go between switching it on and switching it off, so that I use the residual heat, and when it stops I then put the heat back on again, so effectively turning it on and off, and that solves the problem of it bubbling too much.
Okay. The third question I've got, does it only do vegan food and ingredients?
Yes. Yeah, it only does vegan food.
Bloody useless then, isn't it?
Yep. No meat to see here. That's bad.
Are you going to answer that properly? Or?
No, I'm not. No, oh, I see what you mean. He wants me to answer seriously. And that, we'll try and put a clip up where I've actually cooked, although they are vegan, sausages fried. But you could fry bacon, meat sausages. It's a very good frying pan. You could do burgers in there, meat or vegan. So yes, it can be used for, it is a frying pan essentially.
Good. Now, would you say it's good value?
Totally, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I did say, I think at the beginning it was $42.99, and this is the baby version. There are bigger ones if you've got a family of 4, but obviously you have to then take account of the wattage that you use. But yes, I use it all the time. In fact, so much so that we bought one for indoors as well, because it saves so much electricity. It saves a lot of electricity using it, and I use it for all kinds of things.
Okay, it doesn't look easy to wash up, but I think you've already clarified that point, haven't you?
I will try and show you how I clean the pan in a minute, but yeah, you can't just whack it in the sink and scrub it, because obviously you've got to keep this fairly dry because it's electric and you don't want to blow yourself up. But the advantage is it has a very good non-stick, so if you look after the non-stick by not using metal implements on it, it cleans up really easily. It doesn't need any scrubbing, it just comes off.
Okay, my final question then is, I can't seem to see it anywhere. Where's the naan bread?
There isn't any naan bread.
Well, okay, are we having garlic bread then?
Nope.
Oh, for God's sake.
No naan bread. No garlic bread. You and your garlic bread, Graham.
And I'm going to get a bit technical now because some people like it. As you can see from this cereal plate, it's rated at 600 watts maximum. I wanted to see how quickly it would boil water. There was about 1¼ litres in this pan at this time, and as you can see it took just over 3.5 minutes. As promised, here's the wattage readouts. This is on setting number 1, and when we turned it up to number 2, it jumped up to just over 600 watts. Excuse the shaky camera. Now, as punishment for not supplying any naan bread or garlic bread, Ellie gets to clean the pot out.
So, as you can see, I've emptied the pot. There we go, one dirty pot. Just in case you want to know how I find it works best to clean it, I like to unplug these things just to be on the safe side. So what I'm going to do now, get a kitchen towel. Obviously you wouldn't need to use all this kitchen towel if you were indoors. You could use a cloth if you wanted to. And I just prefer to do it that way to get the worst of it off. And then what I do is put a little drop of water in there. And you can see I haven't even used any washing up liquid on that. It's just pure water, just a tiny drop. So again, if you're trying to save water, which often we are if we're out off grid and you haven't got taps handy, you can see how little water you need. What you could do here as well, which is a tip that other people have used, is to use a spray which contains a mixture of washing up liquid and water, and then just wipe it again. But even the edges.
So that's virtually ready to go again now?
It is, yeah.
So could you actually cook a naan bread in there?
Yes, you could. You could actually fry a naan bread.
Do you want to show me how to do that?
Have you got a naan bread?
Well, no, I haven't. I'm not a cook, am I?
Give me a naan bread and I'll cook it for you.
You missed a bit there. Look.
Oh yeah, that's what I like. There, so if you see, you just go around all the edges, it all comes off nicely. I've used about a tablespoon of water, if that, to clean it, and a few bits of kitchen towel.
Well, that's probably easier if you do that straight away though, isn't it?
Yes, it would be. If you leave it to stand and things sort of bake on, especially if the pot's still warm, that could make it a little bit harder. But I think you can see there, oh, that's pretty good. And then I just wipe the lid. If I was indoors, I'd use a bit more water to clean it, but it just goes to show that you can clean it in your camper with very little water. And there we are.
Excellent.
Ready to go. Oh. Oh, this is why we have Graham. He shows me all the bits that I miss because I haven't got my glasses on. But you get the idea. Oh, there's a bit there as well.
I don't like to let standards slip.
Oh, there are no words with him. There are no words.
Hope this has been useful to you. If you want to buy one of these little pots that we use, have a look at the description. We've put a link there where you can. It'll take you to the Amazon store where you can order it. If you click on the link that we've supplied there, we will get a small commission on it, but it won't cost you any more.